funding correctly, that they really don't have time to sit down with any particular patient and go over these things in detail. Because the way the apparatus is, they have to run around and make sure that they lay eyes on, 20, 30, 40 people a day.
1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
Good.
Really?
Oh, yes. All right, everyone. Well, I tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not lucky, I'm loved. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the C. Allen Morning Show. And I tell you, I am super, super excited today because we have Dr. Melancon here live in the studio again. And I'm telling you, it is going to be a show of all shows. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try to get through your 50 questions. We've compiled questions from all of our social media sites, and also even the dialysis center. We reached out to everyone so we could get more knowledge about kidney disease. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, you need to call your friend, call your grandmama, tell your sister, tell your auntie, tell everybody you know. They need to tune in now. How often can we get the lead transplant surgeon to come into the studios and spend 2 hours? Listen to it. He came the last time, Alonzo, and I said, good God, I felt so bad, listeners, because I took up all your time because I asked all my questions for that 1 hour. So we have him for 2 full hours, and we're going to try to and I'm going to try to answer your questions, so you can go ahead and send me those questions through Facebook Live on the Chat Beauty King Bennett. You can also call us on 1-800-450-7876. That's 1-800-450-7876. Now, listen, most of you have already given me your questions, so I'm going to ask that if I don't ask the question, be free to call in and get those questions answered. But listen, before we get started, now listen, I like to talk about an array of topics. And I'm so appreciative for the listeners all across the United States who tune in as well as abroad. So big shout out again to Attorney Tony Brown and his crew in Switzerland. It's about 2-3 in the afternoon there, and they listen to us faithfully every Monday. A big shout out to everybody. But listen, before we do anything, we want to send our condolences as well as our prayer and our support to the synagogue in Pittsburgh. All weekend, we have been just, consumed by the tragedy that happened, and because we have 50 questions to get through and we're talking about kidney disease, I'm going to save my commentary for next week. But, we have to talk about that. We have to talk about what happened in Florida. We have to talk about Pittsburgh. And most importantly, we have to make sure that everyone goes out and votes. So next week's show, we're going to really dive into that because that's going to be the Monday before it's time to go and vote. But we're going to connect the dots. We're going to connect the dots with the crazy man in Florida. We're going to connect the dots. We're going to connect the dots, and we're going to just bring more awareness to our community. But the important thing is we need to go out and we need to vote. But besides that, we need to develop more relationship of love, joy, and peace. And we're going to talk more about that next week. But our hearts go out to those wonderful people. I get caught up, Doctor. And at one point, I couldn't get away from the television. And I'm a CNN junkie anyway, but I couldn't get away from the television. And when I thought about the beautiful community, and they kept bringing in different people who lived in that community, and they thought something like that would never happen. They thought maybe they had to be in Israel or some place outside of the United States for something like that to happen. But for that to happen right here in a beautiful community is something that we all need to make sure that we pay attention to. But we all have to answer to the call. We all have to do our part. Now, one thing I did not like, and we're not going to get into it today, but I have to say this, when the President of the United States said that if they had an officer or someone in there with a gun, that maybe the things wouldn't have turned out. Now, wait a minute, ladies and gentlemen, you all know how I feel. Now, when do we get to the point where now we have officers and gun holders inside of the church house. Jesus. So we got so much to talk about next week, but ladies and gentlemen, everyone know my situation. Everyone know that in April, I was diagnosed with kidney disease. Well, I've been knowing a while that I had kidney disease, but my kidneys had failed. And the first thing the doctor said was dialysis. Now that I have been trying to do some awareness and talk to people, I've talked to people who said that when the doctor gave them told them that they were going to be on dialysis, they started doing other things and they never even made it to the dialysis chair. So there's a whole lot that we have to talk about. So I went around and for the last week and a half, we've been asking people. We said that Dr. Melancon is going to be in studio live, and what questions did you have for him? So first, the couple of 3 questions or 4 questions were mine, and then we're going to go directly into the rest of the questions. Now, our first question is, who is Dr. Melancon?
Well, hello, and I am so honored to be here this morning.
Yes.
And I'm glad that I'm back because, as you alluded to, it sounds like there are lots of questions out there in the community. First, let me tell you who I am. I am a native of Lafayette, Louisiana, and which is Cajun country down in Louisiana. So I'm of Creole descent. I'm African American. I have 4 lovely boys. I've been married to my wife, Lisa, for over 20 years now.
Wow.
And we have 4 lovely sons, ages 18, 15, 13, and 12. So they keep us very busy.
I'm sure.
They're great kids, very expensive. But I did my training down in New Orleans at Tulane University, and I pretty much did all my medical training there until my fellowship, which I went up to University of Minnesota in Minneapolis, finished a fellowship in organ transplantation, and then from there I was recruited to Johns Hopkins. I went to Baltimore for 4 years and then to Georgetown University. I was there 4 years before I was recruited away to start this new transplant program at George Washington University, where I've been for the last 5 years. So I've been in the DC area for about a decade now and have been dealing with the ravages mostly of kidney disease and diabetes. So that's my history in a nutshell.
Okay, very good. Well, Doc, we're going to go straight to the phone lines, and then I wasn't expecting, I wanted to get through my questions, but of course, you can still call us at 1-800-450-7876. Let's go to Andrew on line 1. Andrew, good morning. Welcome to the Seattle Morning Show. We're live with Dr. Melancon. Your question, Andrew. Line 1. Andrew?
Yeah, hello?
Yes, you're on live with the doctor.
Hello, Andrew.
My question is, I heard that when the patient is about to get kidney from the donor, they don't remove their kidney, so they just add a third one in them. So, and I heard that they gotta keep it up and make sure that it's healthy. But my question is, if the kidney doesn't work, are you guys going to put a 4th kidney in there? Are you guys going to take both the kidneys out that's not working? So I just didn't know detail about that part.
Yes, this is actually a very common question, and the answer is you are correct. When we do a transplant, we basically just add in an extra kidney. So the 2 kidneys that you are born with, unless there is a very important reason for us to remove your native kidneys, like cancer or if there's an ongoing infection, we basically just add in a new transplanted kidney. When you get a kidney transplant, well over 90% of the times, it will be successful. In those rare instances when that transplant is not successful, then yes, we can add in a 4th or even a 5th kidney. People have been transplanted sequentially because they received their first transplant when they were young, like a teenager. They could receive another one over a decade later when they're in their late 20s or 30s, and then still another one when they're in their 50s. So there is no limit on the number of transplants that you can really receive. We just need space for the transplant. So sometimes if you've had more than 2 transplants, we do have to go in and remove one in order to place a new one. But for the most part, the kidneys that you are born with will stay inside of your body because it is difficult to remove them unless there is a really compelling reason to do so.
Okay. Was that it, Andrew?
No, I got another question.
Okay.
My next question is, because I understand when people go to dialysis, they have the tubes sticking out their chest. So my question is, for them to stay healthy, what can they do to work out wise? Because I know someone told me that some people can't work out because the sweat at home might irritate the area. So I was just trying to figure out what would be a healthier way if they can stay fit and keep the thing safe on the children.
Yes, Andrew, great question. That's a common question. So when patients first are placed on hemodialysis, normally what will happen is they will have a temporary dialysis catheter, and that's what you're speaking of. It's placed on the chest. It's a tunneled catheter. And they usually will have that temporary catheter for a few months, 6 months, or up to a year. And it's very important to keep that area very, very clean. And yes, most doctors will tell patients to avoid working out because the catheter has an increased propensity of either getting infected, or there could be some tissue that would build up that would cause the catheter not to work well. Now, this should be temporary. In other words, if a person needs to be on dialysis longer than 6 months or a year, then what they really should be receiving is a permanent access. And a permanent access is either going to be what's called an AV fistula, arterial venous fistula, which is usually in the arm, or an arterial venous graft if they're on hemodialysis. And then if they're on peritoneal dialysis, they will get a catheter inside of their abdomen. These are more permanent accesses, and the dialysis catheter is a temporary access. Now, there are rare people that, for whatever reason, do not want to have a fistula or graft placed. That's not ideal, but if that is the case, then those patients need to be able to show the doctors in the dialysis center that they have the ability to keep that catheter very, very clean. If you can keep it clean and you do not have any infections, then at that point you can go back to a more normal lifestyle, including being able to work out. So it really is about how clean you keep that catheter. I believe that physical activity is very important. So it's important to get back to a normal lifestyle and work out and lose weight and do the things that's going to be better for your entire health, because kidney disease over time will start to deteriorate your health even when you're on dialysis.
Gotcha. Is that it?
I'm all done now, but I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right. We appreciate you calling in. Okay, so doctor, we only have 2 minutes before we go to break. The next question is, what is your mission?
So, Chet, throughout my career, I have made it my mission to try to give more access to transplantation. Now, my mission has changed a bit in the last few years because I realized that, I am at the end, tertiary, quaternary health. It's very, very subspecialized type of medicine that I practice. I realized that on the primary health side of things, we needed more health. So my mission in trying to get people better access to transplant continues, but I have a new mission, and I want to educate people about kidney disease. I want to educate people about the primary care issues that I believe are more paramount in changing the behavior. How do you prevent kidney disease? How do you prevent and treat high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity? That has become my more important mission because I know it can help a lot more people.
That's perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, and I see all my folks are chiming in on Facebook Live, please make sure you join the conversation. You can either call us at 1-800-450-7876. You can hit us up on Facebook on the chat, Beauty King Bennett. And we are appreciative to all of those who have submitted their questions so far. So we're going to try to get through as many as we can throughout the next couple of hours. We're so appreciative to the wonderful Dr. Melancon, for coming in and being a good host today here on the Seattle Morning Show. It's commercial time, everybody, so sit back and relax. This is 95.9 FM and 1450 WOL AM, where information is power. We'll be right back after these messages. That was good. Okay, so
Good morning, it's WOL traffic and weather update.
What are some of the symptoms of kidney disease from Tanya Coley, Doc?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
On New York
Sure.
Avenue.
Yeah, you want to answer?
Answer right now?
From 4th Street Northeast.
So the question is, what are some of the symptoms of kidney disease? One of the main symptoms that people with kidney disease have is fatigue. So when your kidneys are not working well, what happens is you start to become tired a lot more easily than before you had kidney disease. So an early sign of end-stage kidney disease. Remember, last time I was here, I talked about how there are 5 stages of kidney disease. But once you have end-stage kidney disease, once your kidneys are really to the point of no return, when you're going to be getting to the point of dialysis, that's when you start to have fatigue. The other symptom is fluid overload, so you'll start to get swelling in the ankles.
Okay. Okay, Tanya, we're going to pick back up live. Oh, yes. All right, everybody, we're back here live, and I tell you, we are so excited. Here we have the doctor in the studio, and I tell you, we are in the classroom today. We're in Dr. Melancon's class, everyone. Live here on the air. Tanya Coley, on our Facebook page, she asked the doctor, what are some of the symptoms of kidney disease? Doc.
Okay, so, the last time I was here, I talked about the fact that there are 5 stages to kidney disease. And the first 3 stages are what we call CKD. CKD means chronic kidney disease. And unfortunately, most people that are in the first 3 stages don't even know they have kidney disease. So the symptoms really are non-existent. So early kidney disease, there are no symptoms. You don't get symptoms until you usually get to stage 4 or stage 5. And at that point, the number one symptom is fatigue. People are just tired. They realize that what they used to do in the course of a day now exhausts them. So fatigue is one of the main ones. Later in the disease, they start to get swelling. So swelling in the ankles, swelling in the legs is most common. People start to need to have an extra pillow underneath their head at night when they go to sleep. That's called dyspnea. Those are some of the other symptoms. And then the next one is itching. People have dry, itchy skin. That's a sign of kidney disease because these toxins are not being cleaned out of your body. So I think those are the 3 main symptoms that people with kidney disease have.
That's perfect, and we thank you, doctor. Also, on our Facebook Live, Erica Lachey says, what are some preventive measures to take to stay kidney healthy?
That's a very good question. And what I will say is, well, number one, you need to know if you are either diabetic or what they call pre-diabetic, or if you have hypertension, high blood pressure, or if you have pre-hypertension. That's the most important thing. So that's a very simple thing. You need to take your blood pressure. If your blood pressure is, the top number is above 140, if that bottom number is above 80, then you are either hypertensive or pre-hypertensive. If both of them are higher than those numbers, then you have high blood pressure and it needs to be treated, okay? Your blood sugar should never be above 120. So if it's above 120, I don't care if you just ate a piece of chocolate cake. If you have a normal insulin release in your body, your blood sugar should never be high. If it's high, then you're either pre-diabetic or diabetic. Those are the most important things for you to find out. Now, if you are not pre-diabetic or diabetic, if you do not have high blood pressure, then what you need to be doing is everyone needs to drink more water. What I find, Chet, is that most people don't drink enough water in the day.
That's right.
You need to be drinking at least 8 glasses of water during the day. And by water, I mean water. Not gin, not coffee, not espresso. I mean good old-fashioned H2O.
Yes.
So you need to drink enough water. And then overall health is good kidney health. So just like what you do for good heart, to prevent heart disease, for good heart health, is going to be good kidney health. What you do for exercise and weight loss and all of that stuff that makes you as an entire human and animal healthy is going to make your kidneys healthy. So it's not rocket science. Just eating a healthy diet, avoiding salt, avoiding high blood pressure and diabetes is going to be the best way to keep your kidneys healthy.
All right, now Gloria Ford Williams from North Carolina asks, is it good to do the 20 days raw diet with the organ cleansing capsules?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I get these diet questions all the time. And, for the most part, even some of the stranger diets that you hear about, like whatever this raw diet is, it's not really going to hurt you. Although I would tell anyone, the key should be in any diet that you take, does it work for you? In other words, are you losing weight as a result of this new diet? As far as some of the homeopathic stuff, a lot of these things actually can be dangerous. And people think, and I think I mentioned this last time when I was here, my own mother, who is a nurse, felt that her high blood pressure would be better treated with supplements that she was taking in from a health food store rather than her blood pressure medicine. That did not work too well for my mom. She wound up having a heart attack. And that's what I would tell people. A lot of these homeopathic things, all of these vitamins, there's no shortcut to the hard stuff. And the hard stuff, Chet, is, you know what? You need to eat less calories. You need to do more exercise, drink more water. The diet is working for you if you're losing weight. So whatever the scale says, then it's working for you. If the scale's not going in the right direction, then it's not working. It's not that complicated. We want to make things complicated because we don't want to do the old-fashioned hard work sort of things. You just got to eat less, exercise more, and drink more water. Look at the scale. If the scale's going in the right direction, then you're succeeding.
Very good. All right, back to our series of questions. We already asked what was your mission. What's so special about the GW Ron and Joy Paul Kidney Center?
So, I love that question, Chet, because the Ron and Joy Paul Kidney Center, Ron Paul, who had kidney disease and invested money in trying to get people educated about kidney disease, I think it changes our mission a little bit, and I alluded to that when I talked about the fact that I'm a transplant surgeon. By getting this money, this philanthropy in this area of education, we at the GW Transplant Institute don't have to just concentrate on tertiary quaternary care. Let's be honest about allopathic medicine in this country. We tend to put our focus, and I mean in the healthcare industry, we tend to put our focus on things where the money comes into the hospital. So anything that is going to be associated with a procedure is going to bring more money in. I'm not saying that hospitals are money hungry, but what I'm saying is the focus is going to be on the things that make hospitals money. Primary care does not bring in a lot of money. So it takes outside sources sometimes to give us the funding that's necessary to concentrate on the things that are actually more important. Where these other countries like England and France and these socialized medicine countries, what they get better right than we do is a focus on primary care. So I would say what separates the GW Transplant Institute working with the Ron and Joy Paul Kidney Center is we're able to do something that most transplant programs don't do, concentrate on primary care, which is actually more important than doing transplant.
Perfect. So listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, which we're so excited about. I believe that God makes no mistakes, but I also believe that we have to do our part. So once I found out that I had kidney disease, I said, okay, you have a large platform. What are some of the things that you can do? So I came up with the Check Me Out initiative. What the Check Me Out initiative is, during our conference in January at the Washington Convention Center, we're going to train all of the licensed barbers and stylists, those that come out. We're going to train them on the blood pressure monitor machine. And basically, it's a simple machine, but the important thing is for us to learn our numbers so we can be cognizant of where we are in reference to our blood pressure. So Check Me Out is the initiative that the beauty industry is doing, where we're going to implement blood pressure monitor machines in barbershops and salons, and we're going to check your pressure when you come into the door before you get your service. We're going to check your pressure just so you can be aware of what your numbers are. Now, the reason why I mentioned that is because we're partnering with the GW Ron and Joy Paul Kidney Center because of their mission, because they want to bring more education out there so we can be aware. So it's important for all of the stylists that are listening to me to register. It doesn't cost anything for you to come out to the convention center that day. We have a lot of classes, and there are a lot of paid classes, and there are a lot of things going on. However, the Check Me Out initiative is free of charge, where our medical professionals are going to train us on the monitor machine so we can be able to know our numbers. So, Doctor, our next question is, why are the rates so high in the district?
Yes, a great question. And the short answer is really the demographics of the district. We have a lot more percentage-wise African Americans and Hispanic Americans than many cities throughout the country. So given the large number of African Americans inside the district, and of course this spills over into Southern Maryland and PG County as well, but because there's so many African Americans, people that are more prone to having high blood pressure, and when you put on top of the fact that the demographics are more African Americans, but the diet is salt heavy, what you have is a group of people that have more high blood pressure, that have more diabetes. These things, coupled with the fact that African Americans tend to have more salt-sensitive type of high blood pressure, and we believe this could be could have something to do with the fact that many of us, our ancestry, going back many generations, comes from sub-Saharan Africa, where there is an advantage to hold on to salt. Your body is advantaged to hold on to salt and water when you're in a place where the temperature is very hot. But that becomes a disadvantage when you're eating a salt-avid diet, eating a lot of salt. So then you have more high blood pressure. The more high blood pressure you have, the more fluid that you hold on inside of your body, the more kidney disease you're going to have, because every day you're pounding your kidneys with this high blood pressure. Same thing with diabetes. So it's that combination of the ethnicity of the district, it's the high blood pressure, it's the diet, it's the diabetes, it's the obesity. All these things work to disadvantage our population. And guess what? Eventually, it leads to early death. This is not just about kidney disease, it's about shorter lives.
Yes. All right, everybody, it's commercial time again. We're so excited. Now, when we come back, we're going to answer Laura's question. Are there supplements that can rebuild healthy tissues in the kidneys? So we're going to ask that question and many more. Give us a call at 1-800-450-7876 or keep sending us those questions via Facebook. All right, everybody, it's commercial time in the house. 95.9 FM, 1450 WOL AM. Information is power. We'll be right back after these messages. Want to sip a coffee real quick?
Yeah, I think I will. These are great questions.
Yeah.
Good morning.
All right, we got about 90 seconds.
90 seconds. Okay, that's all I need.
He's really good and very knowledgeable.
Start with the lows. To save on some
All right, everybody, I am so excited that you all are tuning in today and keep coming with those questions. You all are doing amazing. I love y'all so much, and I'm so glad you all, let me turn this down. I'm so glad that you all tuning in today, which I really appreciate, because I'm going through this. And listen, I'm excited because my new podcast, Kidney Chronicles, is going to start this week. So we're going to re-air some of this on our new podcast, Kidney Chronicles. And it is important for you to make sure that you tune in not only to that, but listen, look up the GW Ron and Joy Paul Kidney Center. If you have more questions for Dr. Melancon, or if you know someone who has some kidney issues, have them to come in. They have some great people there. I know Miss Patrice Miles is here. We're going to have her speak in the second hour. And we have some great people here that's a part of the GW, Ron and Joy Paul Kidney Center. So we want you to get those questions in so you can be able to be more knowledgeable. So listen, everybody, I'm excited because this Thursday, you all been waiting for, and it's here. Yours truly, C. Allen, has created products for the dialysis patient and for excessive dry skin. Everyone has tried it so far. We put those samples out last week. They go on sale November the 1st. You can either go on CAllenMorningShowDC.com or come into the Bennett Career Institute and get you some. Now, we still have samples at Bennett Career Institute. Come by, get some, take to grandma so she can get, don't be like me, okay, we got to go back live. All right, everybody, we'll see you shortly.
When you're looking for
because you know I can talk.
Black America, go to news1.com.
All right, everybody. I tell you, it's 10:30 already. And I tell you, Doctor going to have to shorten those answers because we have way more to get through. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in at 10:30, just got out your morning meeting, this is C. Allen here from the award-winning Bennett Career Institute, live with Dr. Melancon from the GW Ron and Joy Paul Kidney Center. We are excited to be here to answer those questions. Facebook, you're lighting us up today. And, of course, after the show, we're going to be airing this over and over and over throughout all social media channels. Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that on Thursday, November the 1st, a lot of great things happen. The first thing is I'm launching my podcast on YouTube entitled Kidney Chronicles. And this is where we're going to be sharing with other dialysis patients the ups and downs and being able to just bring forth more education to help people to know their numbers, to get their kidneys better, and just become just better in general. So that's going to be Kidney Chronicles. But what I'm excited about is everyone know I've been making products for a couple of years now, and I decided to make something for excessive dry skin and for dialysis patients because I noticed that my skin started drying up so bad, especially around my feet area, where every time I go somewhere, you would think it snowed because it would be dry skin all over the place in the bed and everywhere. So I said, you know what, that's not going to work. So I created the body butters along with the sea salt and, of course, our famous beard oil. So all of that is going to hit the shelves November 1st at the Bennett Career Institute bookstore, as well as you can get it online at the CAllenMorningShowDC.com beginning on November 1st. So we're excited. I believe that because this has happened to me and because of the large platform that I have, I'm going to make as many people aware so you won't be in the same situation I'm in. And that's why we linked up with GW Ron and Joy Paul Kidney Center, Dr. Melancon. So let's go back to questions. Dr. Melancon, Laura says, are there supplements that can rebuild healthy tissues in the kidneys?
Yeah, Laura, great question. I'll tell you what my grandmother used to tell me. You know, I grew up in South Louisiana. We had a garden. And the best supplements are actually vegetables. So, you know, I don't think there's a shortcut in any pill that you should take. You should eat lots of fruits and vegetables. Now, if you already have kidney disease and you're on dialysis, then you have to be careful because they monitor your potassium and your phosphorus. And so you have to be careful in how many fruits and vegetables you take in. But the best supplements are really just a good diet. So green beans and spinach. Spinach is the thing that my grandmother had to convince me was good for me when I was a kid, but now I know is very good. So all the green leafy vegetables, but again, you got to keep an eye on your potassium. And then any natural fruits or vegetables. That's what people should be concentrating on. You can ask your dietitian if you're actually on dialysis what you should be avoiding as far as fruits and vegetables, depending on what your numbers are. But for the most part, all of us need to be eating more fruits and vegetables and drinking more water. I don't think you need to take any supplements.
All right, so first we want to say good morning again to Mr. Frizzell, who says, Frizzell Yeverton, he says, I'm in dialysis right now. So good morning to you, brother. And if you have, if you're near someone else in the next chair, have them to tune in to the show and send their questions. Now, Ebony says, when it comes to anti-rejection medicines, do you know any of them that have recalled? What steps should kidney transplant recipients take to make sure that their new kidney does not reject?
That's a very good question. And I will tell you that in the last decade, really, the rejection medicines have become so good that rejection is not nearly the problem it used to be. Most rejection is treatable. There are no kidney transplant medications that have been recalled. They've been very stable in the market for many, many years. There have been very little in the way of any problems with these medications wholesale. Now, for an individual, there could be a medication that works better for you than another. But there's really nothing to worry about as far as the kidney transplant medications. Now, are there things you can do to decrease the chance of rejection? Really, the only thing that my patients really need to be doing is taking their medicine daily. You have to take this medicine every day. What is important is if you are having a problem with any of these medicines, you need to let us know, because we can substitute a medicine for one of the ones you may be having a problem with. And I think that's where people sometimes will get into trouble. They take a medicine that's not making them feel good for whatever reason, and they may skip a couple of dosages. And that's how you get rejection. As long as you take your medicine every day, it's very unlikely that you would have a rejection.
Great. Also, doctor, when I put out for people to send their questions in, listen to this, Patrice Miles. A guy sent in a picture of him after his transplant with Dr. Melancon. They took a picture together. He sent it in and said, that was my kidney doctor. So I thought that was great. So we're going to share that picture with you later on. All right, our next question. Can someone get off of dialysis outside of a kidney transplant?
Yes. So there are a couple of ways to come off of dialysis if you have what's called acute kidney injury. So there are things that can happen to you that are transient. So you could have taken a supplement or some sort of medicine that would have caused your kidneys to shut down. You could have had an illness that could have caused your kidneys to shut down to the point where you need to be on dialysis. But this dialysis is only a short period of time, like 1 month. I've seen people even have to be on dialysis 6 months or even up to a year and come off of dialysis. But it is rare. Most people that get to the point when they have to be on dialysis, unfortunately, are going to be on dialysis until they can get a kidney transplant. The more transient things have to do with a brief illness, and usually the patients will come off of dialysis within a month.
Also, please forgive me, Joyce Bennett and others who were holding, and I didn't even check to see if you guys were on the line, so I'm sorry. So please call us back. We've been so busy dealing with Facebook and our pre-questions that we already had that I never even looked at that. So listeners, I do apologize. They said my poor mother been holding on forever. I'm so sorry. So Joyce Bennett, please call back.
You can't hang up on your mom.
Can't hang up on mom. Joyce Bennett, please call back. And Alonzo, please alert me, sir, when we get some calls in, because I'm trying to read the question. Okay, so our next question. What is your feelings when it comes to holistic doctors?
Wow, that's a loaded question. So, I do believe that a lot of holistic medicine is actually very beneficial. All right, because it's usually things like doing more stretching, yoga. I think that is actually very, very healthy. But usually holistic doctors concentrate more on diet. And even what you mentioned about lotions, keeping your skin moist. These things are very important. I have one of those Ayurvedic tongue scrapers. That's from a holistic doctor. I believe in all that. I think that moist membranes, keeping your membranes moist, well hydrated. Holistic doctors tend to concentrate on hydration. So those things are very, very beneficial. I think a lot of the supplements, I may not be a big fan of them, but most of them are going to be benign. People like to take vitamin C. That's fine. Any of your water soluble esoteric sorts of things. Anything fat soluble. So you have to be careful when you take fat soluble vitamins. You need to be careful and do your own research. You can go on Google and look at a lot of these supplements that people take for different reasons. And some of them work, some of them don't. Some suppliers are better than others. But I think for the most part, I think holistic doctors actually do pretty good work when they concentrate on the things that I just mentioned.
Got you. All right. Have you seen people over time get off dialysis and it wasn't acute?
Very, very rarely. I have, but these are very, very rare cases. For the most part, if you have to be on dialysis more than, say, 6 months to a year, then your kidneys are in stage 4 or stage 5. And at that point, you have end-stage renal disease, and that really is not, it's not going to happen that your kidney function is going to come back. Now, it may improve, and that's why I think it's important. There's a big distinction for people like me in people that continue to make urine when on dialysis and people that don't. And that's why I believe peritoneal dialysis, and the data bears this out, is superior to hemodialysis, particularly for the first few years you're on dialysis. So you may have some function, you may have urine output, but you're going to still need dialysis, even if it's limited dialysis, because you're at that stage of kidney disease. But we know when we transplant patients that their tissues are healthier, that they still make urine, their potassium, phosphorus, all the things that the kidney doctors are trying to get you to do, if it's in the normal range, those patients do much better because they're much healthier.
Got you. All right, very good. And doctor, you're doing good. Okay, so why a cadaver kidney doesn't last as long as a living donor kidney?
Excellent question. So cadaver, we now say deceased donor, but the reason why these kidneys don't last as long simply is, number one, when you are dying, your body goes into this mechanism of shutting down, and these chemicals are released into the body, and they affect all of the organs at the end of your life. And that's what happens when you take organs out of a person when they're dying, compared to a live person who is perfectly healthy, particularly live kidney donors, because in order to be a kidney donor, you have to be in such great health. So the organs that you are getting are in great health, just like the donor. But the main issue is the amount of time that the kidney sits on ice. So if you're getting a kidney from a deceased donor, a quote-unquote cadaver donor, usually that kidney had to sit on ice for 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 hours. That's on ice, 20 hours without blood flow. Compared to a live donor where we go in, we take the kidney out, we already have the patient open, ready for a transplant. So the cold ischemia time is about 40 minutes. So 40 minutes versus 14 hours on ice, that's a big difference. And that's why over time, the live donor transplant does so much better than the deceased donor transplant.
How many transplants have you done?
In my career, I've probably done 700 to 800 kidney transplants. You know, one of my favorite books is Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, and he talks about 10,000 hours of something to become an expert. And I went back and calculated, and I'm not bragging on myself, but I am. I got to about 10,000 hours about 6-7 years ago. So I guess I'm an expert.
Perfect. What are the functions of a kidney?
So that's a great question, because I'm going to tell you, the kidney does a lot more than just what the hemodialysis machine does. So the kidney does clear out toxins in the body, which is very important. It's probably its most important function. But the kidney does a lot of other things. The kidney releases hormones that causes your body to make blood cells. So one of the reasons why people on dialysis become anemic is because the kidney's function of releasing these hormones called erythropoietin that builds up the blood cells is gone once you're on dialysis. And actually, most people have to get injections of erythropoietin to replace what the kidney does. The kidney does a lot of other things. It helps manipulate your blood vessels so that you don't have high blood pressure. It's not just the fluid that we talked about earlier that the kidney gets rid of so that you don't have high blood pressure, but the kidney actually releases hormones that regulate your blood pressure. And that's why people that are on dialysis for many years don't have that regulation, and their blood pressure is so hard to control. The other thing the kidney does is it gets rid of some of the lipids and these things that now emulsify and harden, which is why vascular disease worsens once you're on dialysis. Your kidney's not doing that function anymore, which is why most people that die when they're on dialysis die because of heart disease or a stroke. That's because the kidney is not helping keep the lipids under control. That's another important function of the kidney.
Gotcha. All right, now we have 1 minute left, Doc, so let's go back to Facebook. Now, I'm a diabetic. What can I do to prevent organ damage and live a long life? I currently take Victoza.
Yes, that's a very good question.
She says 8 milligrams and metformin 1,000 milligrams. My doctor said if I lose 20 pounds, I can come off my meds.
Absolutely. The doctor,
you got about 30 seconds.
Yeah, the doctor's absolutely correct. The most important thing for this young lady to do is to lose weight. But the exercise that she needs to start doing is more than just losing weight. The way our bodies are created, insulin is released when you move skeletal muscle. So what I would tell her, even if it's just walking 30 minutes a day, she needs to increase her exercise as well as just lose weight.
Perfect. All right, everybody, it's commercial time in the house. Call a friend, call a neighbor, let them know Dr. Melancon is answering questions today live here on the Seattle Morning Show. We'll be right back after these messages. That's good.
Yeah,
I
you do better than everybody.
I did the Melancon the last hour. We're not going to let that happen again. And especially when someone called me and was like, one of the listeners, I think you're messing up the name to the doctor. Because my baby went to him. I don't think that's the name, Seattle. I think we won't let that happen again. All right, everybody. So keep throwing your questions. Yvette, we're going to ask you a question next. What foods should a person with kidney disease stay away from? Okay, that's a good question.
Save on supplies they need most from the brands they trust to help get the job done on time and on budget. Visit Lowe's for
that's why it's important that we get Dr. Melancon once a month. You see all these questions, everybody, I'm telling you. So how many people are we educating today? Wow. And I'm going to send you the stats after next week. I'm sure it's going to be about 3,000 people we're going to end up getting.
95.9 FM.
And I did an event over the weekend. It was the same thing. They had about 30 people in the audience, and they just kept asking so many questions.
Yes. All right, everybody, we're back here, and I'm telling you, we're diving in with those questions. If you're just tuning in, everyone, it's 10:46, and I tell you, we still got a long way to go. We have Dr. Melancon live in the studio from George Washington, Ron and Joy Paul Kidney Center, and I'm telling you, we are excited. But listen, we're also going to give you that number. Patrice Miles, who is the leading lady over there. What is the number? Because we want people to know if they have other questions that they don't want to ask, or they want to come in and make an appointment and all that. How can they come in? How can they call? What's the number?
They can call 1-833-KIDNEY-3. That's 1-833-KIDNEY-3. And you'll more than likely get me. And I will be more than happy to assist you in getting your questions addressed.
Perfect. That's 1-833-KIDNEY-3. You can't listen, and we'll put that on our Facebook page as well. So listen, everybody, let's go back to our questions. Now, we had a question here about the foods. The question came from Yvette Rector. What food should a person with kidney disease stay away from, doctor?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And the main thing are preservatives. So, so many things you buy in the grocery store have preservatives. I tell people, if you eat fresh things, then you're going to be in a good zone. So even foods that traditionally have high potassium, if you're digesting it from a natural source, not out of a can, but like from a farmer's market, or if you buy it fresh at a grocery store, that's going to be a much healthier way to get it into your system, and it's not going to cause that big increase in potassium or sodium. But preservatives, I tell people all the time, you should try to go to farmer markets, because even fresh fruits and vegetables, or supposedly fresh fruits and vegetables, can have preservatives as well. If you buy an apple at a store and put it on your table, and 3 weeks later the apple's still red and juicy, something's wrong with that apple, right? You should buy apples that go bad after 3 or 4 days, because that's a natural occurring apple, whereas some of these things have a lot of preservatives. Preservatives have a lot of salts and potassiums and things that are not good for people with kidney disease.
All right, so this is a good question, doctor. What are some complications of a kidney transplant?
Okay, yeah, it's a very good question. A kidney transplant is a big operation, so a lot of things can go wrong. Like I said earlier, fortunately, even throughout the country, most people that get kidney transplants do well. Some of the things that can go wrong is you could have major hemorrhage, you could have a major infection, or you could have rejection. People can get hernias because their tissues tend to be weakened when they have kidney disease, and it makes them more likely to develop things like hernias, and they might need another operation. But thankfully, complications from kidney transplantation, even though it's a big, major operation, even though patients are sick, and even though they're getting these strong medications that impair their healing, complications are relatively rare. Patients do much better than you would even predict.
Okay, very good. All right, next question. My sister has been on the list for over 7 years. Why hasn't she been transplanted?
Very good question. So there are geographical disparities throughout the country. So it depends, number one, where she's listed. In other words, if you live in San Francisco, Los Angeles, or New York City, those are the longest waits in the country. Those people wait 9 to 10 years to receive a transplant. The Washington, D.C. area, most people wait about 5 to 6 years. And that's just in general. Now, there are specific issues with every patient that can cause them to have to wait longer. And some of these specific issues are what we call these antibodies that build up in your blood. You build up antibodies by having children, having blood transfusions, actually just being on dialysis. One of the reasons why there's a disparity in who gets transplanted by ethnicity, African Americans wait longer, is because of things like these antibodies, and then blood type. Because statistically, more Caucasians have blood type A and O, whereas most Asians and African Americans have blood type B. If you have blood type B, you actually have to wait longer for a transplant because more donors are blood type O and A. So there are all these little things that can impact how long you have to wait for a transplant, which is why the best way is to get a live donor. So if she's talking about her sister, she should say, you know what? The best way for my sister not to wait is for me to give her a kidney.
Gotcha. All right. Now, one of our dialysis patients also said they tell me to stay away from dairy. Tell us about that. Why should we stay away from dairy?
Yeah, so
as much as I love Cold Stone ice cream.
Right, yeah. So what will happen in dialysis centers is they are looking at your specific labs. So depending on what your potassium and phosphorus and all these other things that they look at is, they're going to try to customize your diet. The reason why dairy or even protein can be a problem is if you are developing problems from protein ingestion. What I tell people is it's not that you have to avoid meat, but you want to go to leaner forms of meat. It's not that you have to avoid all dairy, but you need to find out, well, what do I like, and if I try it, how does it affect my labs? So what the dietitian is probably telling her is, you have a problem with a specific issue in your electrolytes, and that's why she needs to avoid dairy. But again, if she was to exercise and lose weight, she may not have to avoid it.
Gotcha. My dad was told he was too big for a transplant. That's not fair.
Well, being a surgeon, I can tell you, it's not fun operating on people that are way overweight, right? Now, it depends on how much overweight her father is. Now, we use this thing called BMI, and it really, body mass index. Mm-hmm. And as your BMI goes higher, you can start to have problems. Now, obese is a BMI of 30, right? So people will say, well, they're obese, so it can be an issue. Well, that's not really a problem. So even a BMI of 30 or even 35 is not a problem, and data bears this out. Once you get above BMI of 40, now you're beyond morbidly obese. Those patients have a lot of surgical complications. Your typical transplant center will say, if you have a BMI above 40, then you are too large to get a transplant. However, the good news is now most of your bariatric surgeons, the surgeons that do the weight loss surgery, they will take in people that have kidney disease. At one time they wouldn't, but now they will. So I've done transplants on patients that have gone in, received bariatric surgery, lost a lot of weight. Some of these patients lose over 100 pounds and then get their transplant.
Wow.
But a BMI over 40, it's not really safe to operate on someone and give them a transplant at that size.
Got you. All right. Do doctors make money off of patients on the dialysis machine?
Well, that's a very controversial area. And the short answer is yes, lots of money. Now, it's not so much the doctors, though. I will say, doctors don't get paid enough, if you ask me. But it's the corporations. I mean, if you would have bought stock in any of the dialysis companies over the last 10 years, your stock would have gone up by a lot of money, like, fivefold. These companies do very, very well. So a lot of money is made off of dialysis. Now, the good side is, you and I were talking offline, in third world countries, people that have kidney disease, they go to sleep and they never wake up. They just die because they don't have access to dialysis. One of the great things about this great country of ours is people have access to dialysis, and it doesn't matter how rich or poor you are. In these other countries, you have to be wealthy to get dialysis. So these dialysis companies do a great job in getting access to everybody, including undocumented immigrants. So dialysis, yes, makes a lot of money, mostly for the corporations, not for the doctors.
Okay, this is a good one. We have 3 minutes before our next break. What are the requirements for a donor? I remember Mr. Bennett saying many of the potential donors were overweight and couldn't donate their kidney. So she want to know what are the requirements of a donor?
Yeah, so
and I want you to talk real good because my potential donor is online. I see her. She checked in. Go ahead.
All right. So the most important thing for donors is that they have reasonable blood pressure. So some donors can have high blood pressure, but it's controlled. So they can be on one blood pressure medicine and it's under control. They cannot be diabetic or even pre-diabetic. So people that are going to be donors need to be healthy. BMI-wise, remember I told you can't get a transplant if your BMI is over 40. You usually can't be a donor if your BMI is over 35. And we're pretty liberal with that. So you can be a little overweight, but you cannot be morbidly obese and be a donor. If you don't have high blood pressure, diabetes, you're not morbidly obese, you probably are in good enough shape to be a donor.
Okay, very good. So listen here, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to let Doctor take a little break here because we're about to go into the 11 o'clock hour. I want you to continue with those questions. We have an array of questions for the doctor, and I'm telling you, I know that many of you have been tuned in for this whole hour, but you don't want to go anywhere. We want to talk to the doctor about marijuana, so all you marijuana smokers, we want to talk to the doctor about sex. We even had a question about, how can they help their penis to work? Oh, we got all of it. Oh, yes, we got it for the doctor. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, it is important that you continue to tune in, and the important thing is it's about getting the knowledge. One of the things that we appreciate about our matriarch, Kathy Hughes, is when she created where information is power, knowledge is power, and we want all of you to become more powerful. And how you do that is to become more knowledgeable. It is important that we do our part to not only save our lives, but the lives of others. It is important that we do that. Now, it's commercial time in the house, and I'm telling you, it has been a true honor and a privilege. So we give a big shout out to Dr. Melancon for coming in, and he's shooting those answers. And you guys are just steady sitting. I'm looking at it now. Y'all steady sending more questions and more questions, and we're going to try to do as much as we can in the next hour. So sit back and relax. It's News Talk 1450 WOL and 95.9 FM. This is the Sea Island Morning Show, where information is power. We'll be right back after these messages. Gonna get some more coffee. We got about 3 minutes, two minutes, Nana. Look, you have to tell him one time, right?
Ron had a tax problem he just couldn't handle.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Tanya Coley, don't start nothing with that marijuana. I see you. And thank you for the great information. Comment. Okay, so thank you guys so much.
Optima is A+ rated.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Just be mindful, everyone, that if you know someone on dialysis or who have excessive dry skin, please send them over to the Bennett Career Institute Thursday as we release. And I tell you, we have Body Butters Lemongrass. That's my favorite. My mother's favorite is Joy. And then a lot of guys like the Peace. So we have Joy, Peace, and Lemongrass that's available in the sea salt, the soap, and the body butters. Now, the body butter is made out of shea butter, and one of the things that I really like about it, and that's why we did it for excessive dry skin, is because now one of the comments that some of the clients were saying was they felt that it was oily. That is because you're using too much of it. It's the thing about the body butter is because we did it for excessive dry skin, you only need just a little bit of it, and it goes such a long way. So it's important that you make sure that you hydrate yourself. And now that we're going into the winter months, a lot of you all are getting dry skin anyway. So because of that, we want you to stop by and we want you to purchase some of those products. We think it's going to be amazing. And then most importantly, we want to keep the conversation going with our new podcast, Kidney Chronicles, where we're going to be doing some of the same things that we're doing today, but it's going to be more personal. We're going to be sharing our situations and problems and different things that we've been going through. So it's very important. Ms. Johnson's tuning in. Okay, Ms. Johnson, I see you. Thank you, Erica Lachey. Thank you, Yvette Rector. Make sure you activate the share button. Yes, absolutely. All right, we're about to go back for the second hour, guys.
This is great.
Oh, yes. Well, everybody, it's 11 o'clock in the nation's capital, and I'm telling you, I am excited to be live in studio with Dr. Melancon. Dr. Melancon, to me, of course, the funny thing is, and we didn't get into it, we won't do it this time, Doc. We won't get controversial, because one of the questions was, why did you leave Georgetown? So we're not going to go there. But one thing I will say is Georgetown is where I go. And the first thing someone said was, dang, you should have been here when the black doctor was here. You should have been here when the black doctor was here. And everyone kept talking about Dr. Melancon, and I had no clue that we would be connected. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're excited today to have Dr. Melancon live in studio for this 11 o'clock hour from the GW Ron and Joy Paul Kidney Center. He's been taking all of our questions. He's been answering them. He has been doing absolutely amazing. So let's go right back to the question. Now, before we do that, we have we got some phone calls. I'm not going to forget you. All right, let's go to John on line 1. Can we get John on line 1? John, good morning. Welcome to the Sea Island Morning Show. What's your question?
Good morning. I'd like to know, does the kidney take a hit from long-term use of high blood pressure medicine?
Oh, John, excellent question. And the answer is yes, they can. One of the things that's important when you have high blood pressure is that your blood pressure is in the normal range. That's the most important thing. And you also want to know what we call it diurnal variation. That's just fancy words for, you want to make sure that in the course of a day, your blood pressure is not dropping too low, because I've seen that happen. So what can happen is if your blood pressure is dropping low because of the blood pressure medicine, that's not a good thing. And what needs to happen is your blood pressure medicine needs to be changed or adjusted. And that you will only know that if you are taking your blood pressure at different times in the day, which is what you should be doing. One of the things that happen, particularly with young men, is the blood pressure medicine can make them impotent. And obviously, men don't like to be impotent. So that's another thing that should be adjusted. You should still take your blood pressure medicine, but it needs to be adjusted. So yes, long term, if your blood pressure is dropping down low, and low would be less than the top number being 90, then over time that can hurt the kidneys. But for the most part, keeping it in the normal range is not going to hurt your kidneys. The medicine itself should not hurt your kidney, although some medicine, they're called ACE inhibitors, can increase the creatinine. But usually the doctors that are treating you will know that that's a false elevation in creatinine and need to follow you, which is why it's important that when a doctor puts you on a medicine, you go back and check in with the doctor that gave you the medicine so that they are following you, what we say in medicine, longitudinally, meaning over time, the same doctor that gave you the medicine is following up on the medicine in your body.
Yes, and that's very important because that is what I just experienced. I had to go to the doctor because I'm a person who checked my blood pressure all throughout the day and in the evening, and I noticed that my blood pressure, I started feeling dizzy, and my blood pressure was really getting low, and the doctor said because I was on 4 blood pressure medicines, but now that I'm in treatment, the doctor said that I need to cut down on some of those medications. So we've been doing little trial things, and I've been running into him, and he's been checking it, and we've been doing things to see what fits and what doesn't fit to give me a normalized pressure. So it's important that you connect with your doctor with that. Now, doctor, we have, Chanel says, what are some of the things to consider as a donor if you have not had children yet?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And it's one of the myths that's out there that people, women, feel like if they donate their kidney, then they can't have children. And nothing could be further from the truth. Now, it is important, like I said, anyone that wants to be a donor has to go through this very extensive workup. That's true at any program throughout the country. For young women that want to get pregnant after they donate, it's important for them to understand they will be transitioned over into a high-risk OB group, meaning that if you have one kidney, after you donate your kidney, then it's imperative that the obstetricianist watches your blood pressure even more closely and watches your protein in your urine even more closely. It would be just like an older woman, older being, over 35 with a first pregnancy. These obstetricians know that they need to keep a close eye because pregnancies, even if you have 2 kidneys, pregnancies put stress and a strain on the kidneys. But I have had many patients donate their kidneys even before their first pregnancy and go on to have many normal pregnancies thereafter. So a typical young woman who's healthy with 2 kidneys can donate her kidney and still have a normal pregnancy life afterwards.
That's perfect. Praise the Lord. Alonzo, let's get line 2. MD, talk to us. Good morning. You're live with the doctor.
Good morning, Dr. M. Good morning, C. Allen.
Good morning.
Well, doctor, recently I was evaluated to be a donor, but I was told that I could not donate because, even though I was fine, that, I have no high blood pressure, not overweight, no diabetes. I've never drank, smoked, or did drugs, anything of that nature. But they said I was ruled out because I had some cysts on both my kidneys.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah, unfortunately, it is very, very stringent to be a donor, and that's what you're alluding to. What I would say in your particular situation, I wouldn't. You don't have to answer, but it would depend on what your age is. So if you are very young, like if you're in your early 20s,
doctor.
You're 58?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're 58 and you only have a few cysts, I would say that you could still be a donor. These criteria change depending on the transplant center, and doesn't sound like you came to my center.
No, he did not.
Okay, so at my center, I think you could still possibly be a donor, and you should come and see us.
Okay, so then, doctor, don't start nothing because that was because this is my very best friend. He is our director of first impressions, and we just knew that he would be my donor. Never smoked, drank, none of that.
He needs to come see me.
And what happened was he went to Georgetown, which I sent everybody there, and he went there. and they said that they found a cyst on each kidney, so they didn't think that he would be a good candidate. So that really knocked me out. Now, the good thing is my new potential donor, you just answered her question about pregnancy. And that was the right answer, praise the Lord. So we'll see.
I'm here to help.
Absolutely. But thank you, thank you, MD. We appreciate you.
They both should come and see me, though.
That's true.
Well, I'll be there, doctor. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And the thing about it was, doctor, was he was more hurt than I was because this is something that he really wanted to do. We've been friends since 1999, so it's been it's been 1990. Yes, almost 20 years we've been friends. And he felt that he should be the person to give me his kidney.
Well, you know, I talk about this all the time. The types of people that donate their kidneys, these are not, quote unquote, normal people, right? And I tell this to people all the time. The type of person that will do that for you, that's the kind of person that would be emotionally tied to doing it because they are, I put them all in this category of being altruistic do-gooders, right? And that type of person wants to save your life. You know, people talk about this, I was saying this over the weekend. People will say, if I did a survey, a lot of people would say, oh, you know what, if my loved one need one, yeah, I would be willing to do that. But the answer is no. Most people are not willing to do this.
That's
the
true.
Types of people that want to do this, they are in a special category, and your friend would be in that category.
Absolutely. And he was really distraught. And we just found out last week, and he came to me in the office on Tuesday, and he was in tears. And I said, well, what is wrong? And he said, and we had went before the students and everyone because he was out last week to do all the extensive testing. He passed everything, flying colors, blood work, everything was fine. And they said, but they see a cyst on both kidneys. So they said, well, we don't think that you'll be a good candidate. And this, ladies and gentlemen, has to be at least the 10th or 11th person that has gone through that to become a donor for me, and the answer is the same. So I had said that I was going to go to Johns Hopkins and get on their list there. And then I said I was going to talk to Patrice Miles and see how I can send my paperwork over to Dr. Melancon so we can get busy so I can get off of this dialysis machine.
I would have had you transplanted already.
Exactly. Okay, doctor, that's enough. All right, so our next question is, why is mom so weak after dialysis?
Yeah, it's a very good point, and unfortunately, that's what happens to most patients. Most patients, particularly if you're a bit older being, you know, it's all relative. Older gets younger now that older gets older now that I'm getting older. But if the patient is over the age of 50, then the dialysis process is going to take a lot out of them. But again, the better shape you are going in, the better shape you are coming out. So I would say what mom needs to be doing, what all people that are in dialysis need to be doing, is on the non-dialysis days, you need to be exercising, going for walks, just doing things to make your entire body healthier. But it is very, very common that when people go to dialysis, they're wiped out, which is why it's something you want to avoid by good primary care before you need to be on dialysis. And if you're on dialysis, then if you have an option to get off, that's going to be the best option. And if you have an option to go from hemodialysis to peritoneal dialysis, that's also an option that tends to be better tolerated by patients.
Okay. What medications can cause kidney failure? So
there are certain things that people need to avoid, even normally healthy people, because these medicines are a risk to your kidneys. And the main group would be this category of medications called non-steroidals, common pain medication like ibuprofen, Motrin. These medicines, if I think we would call it being abused, but if you have to take a lot of it and for more than a couple of days, you are putting your kidneys at risk. And I'm talking about just normal, healthy people. So you should never be in a situation where you're taking ibuprofen more than 4 or 5 times a day over a week. If you are doing that consistently, you are putting your kidneys at risk. I cannot tell you how many patients that I've had to transplant and their only risk was they were taking too much ibuprofen. Now, people can get caught in what's called a catch-22, where they may have a slip disc, a ruptured disc, or whatever. They have back pain, and they don't want to become addicted to narcotics, so they're taking a lot of ibuprofen. But what I would say is that needs to be addressed. You need to be getting injections. You maybe need surgery, but it is not safe to be taking things like ibuprofen day in and day out, month in and month out, year in and year out. You will go on to kidney failure. Yes. So that's the one medication that is very dangerous for your kidney. And sometimes these herbal medicines will have ibuprofen in it. So you need to be very careful. Same thing with cold medicine. And all these things sometimes can have ibuprofen. And that's a medicine that can be dangerous to your kidneys.
Gotcha. All right, last question before we go to break. If red meat isn't good for you, why are they making my brother eat so much protein on dialysis?
Well, protein is good for people on dialysis, but the leaner the protein, the better. So it's not that red meat in and of itself is horrible. It's just that a lot of the red meat we wind up consuming is the fatty type of red meat. So if you're eating the leaner types of red meat, like a New York strip or a fillet rather than a fatty cut of meat like a hamburger or a marbled steak, then it can be healthy in moderation. I tell people, the optimal week would be 2 or 3 days of meat and the rest more vegetable based. You can eat meat in a healthy way. Chicken without the skin on it, fish, lean cuts of red meat, these are healthier things. Pork, fatty meat, that's not good. But that's what you have to do. Protein is good in moderation.
Okay, very good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to let the doctor take another 60-minute break, 90-minute break. He's been doing really good. When we come back, we're going to ask questions like, is wine good for a dialysis patient? What about marijuana? Can I get pregnant on dialysis? Can I really live a great life with one kidney? We have so many questions to ask the doctor. We're so excited. Dr. Melancon here, live in the studio. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after these messages. All right.
I can't believe how good the questions are.
Yeah.
They are very good. It just shows you when you open it up how people have great questions. They call it crowdsourcing. When you crowdsource.
Good morning, this WOL Traffic Update is sponsored by Napa 295.
Yeah, so that's funny because Mr. Wells, he went, and we knew because he's squeaky clean that we thought that he would be the one. And that's why I told you, I said, well, I'll be out all in November, December, and we'll be back in January. And they told him that, we was like, oh, God. But now my niece, who's 27,
to help keep your car on the road.
And she's a little petite thing, but she want to have children.
Right.
So that's why she asked that question. She called me. That's why she asked that question. She wanted to know because she's doing her workup now. Okay. But she's saying because she want to have kids because she's still young. And I think she weighed like 80 pounds.
I would say he's still, just a couple cysts.
For details.
He shouldn't have been turned off for that. That's the only issue.
I know my brother, he was pre-diabetic, so they told him no because of the medicine they was giving him. All right, everyone, we're back here live in studio, and we are just really excited because we have Dr. Melancon live in studio. I'm laughing because I keep forgetting that while I'm talking to him off the air, that we're still live, and like my potential donor just responded, her age is 28, sir. She says, I'm 28, sir. And I keep forgetting that they're still listening to us. So I have to be careful. All right, everybody, we're back here live. This is 95.9 FM and 1450 WOL AM. Information is power. And we're just really excited to have Dr. Melancon live in studio. I'm excited because of what my personal issues are, and I'm so glad that I'm bringing the troop along with me. One of the things that I want to do is I want to change the game. I want to be able to educate so many people, and who else better to do that with than Dr. Melancon live in studio. So we are so excited to have him, and we just want to thank Patrice Miles. Patrice Miles is the person who connected us together through Patricia Weeks Caulthurst at Washington Hospital Center. Washington Hospital Center Cancer Institute is the place that we donate, the Bennett Institute donate money to every year. And we try to raise money for the Cancer Institute. And I reached out to her and said, hey, I'm having kidney issues now. What kidney doctor can we go to? Who can we see? And she said, I have the perfect person. She connected us with Patrice Miles, who runs that agency over there. And Patrice says, you got to meet Dr. M, is what she called. She said, Dr. M, you must meet him. And when I tell you, this has been a true blessing, and he has been an angel. I'm not going to say in disguise, because he's far from there. But he has been an angel to all of us, and we're so appreciative. So let's go back to our questioning. Is wine good for a dialysis patient?
Yeah, so the short answer is wine is fine in moderation. You have to be careful because dialysis patients, if need to watch their phosphorus intake, and red wine in particular can have a lot of phosphates. It's ironic, the more you spend for wine, the less phosphate is going to have in it. So the expensive red wine is better than cheap red wine, but white wine, champagne would have less phosphate in it than red wine. So you can in moderation, but you have to watch your labs. That's why for all of these diet questions, what you really need to be doing is a little trial and error. Take a little bit of your whatever you like, cheese, wine, or whatever, and then let the dietitian look at your labs and tell you where you need to be making adjustments.
All right, that's really good, doctor. Then the next one is marijuana cool while I'm waiting on a transplant?
Well, we've had to adjust over the years because now marijuana is legal in the district. And for the most part, marijuana is fine. Now, I'm not being a proponent for marijuana. All I'm saying is marijuana is fine. Even after transplant, we allow patients that need it or want it to utilize marijuana. What I will tell you that we are a little concerned about is marijuana can slightly increase your risk of certain infections, like fungal infections, because of the way the marijuana is handled sometimes. But for the most part, marijuana smoking or taking the different ways that people get marijuana, like vaping and all that, is usually okay in moderation.
Okay. All right, very good, doctor. And I'm not going to say I asked that question. I'm not going to say that. Especially my mother listening, no, I'm not going to say that. Okay, so doctor, another question is, I'm not understand if I understand the Chanel, so you may want to explain it. It says, as a donor, what if you may need a donation later? What are the considerations, and does your insurance change once you are a donor?
Wow, those are two very good questions, and they come up all the time. So number one, if you are a donor, if you donate your kidney and God forbid something happens to you down the road and you now have kidney disease, then you get, we call them points, but basically you go to the top of the transplant list and you will get a transplant. We will go out of our way to make sure we transplant you as soon as possible if you have kidney disease. So that's number one. Number two, as far as insurance, when you are a donor, all of the hospitalization, medication, anything you would need to be a donor is covered by the recipient's insurance. Yes. So you don't have to come out of pocket for any of the hospitalization. Now, would your insurance change? Now, in the past, we used to have issues with that being a medical condition, right? And insurance companies used to have a problem with that. Well, since Obamacare, that's not been an issue, but obviously Obamacare is under attack in our nation right now. But as of currently, it is not a problem, and it does not change your insurance designation if you are a donor.
And that's great, doctor. And to answer that, to piggyback more on that, Chanel, that was one of the reasons why I had to, which I never would have thought, but I had to go and get Medicare. And I was wondering, well, of course, I wasn't eligible for Medicaid, but I had to get Medicare. And I said, well, why do I have to get Medicare? And they said it's more for the donor opposed to you. Exactly. It's to make sure that the donor has coverage throughout their life. Right. And that was the purpose of Medicare. So, yes, I do have Medicare. All right. The next question, and Doctor, we're going to have to speed it up because we only have 38 minutes left, and we got a long
you got a lot of questions.
Okay. My cousin who has kidney failure has a hard time sleeping all the way through the night. Why?
Well, it's because the toxins that build up in your body as a result of not having good kidney function, one of the things they can do, that these toxins can do, is they can give you insomnia. So it's just because they don't have good kidney function. That person needs to change their diet, and that's a person that actually needs to avoid things like protein, because it's those sorts of breakdown products of protein that can give you insomnia.
Mm-hmm. My husband is mean after treatment. What causes that?
It's not kidney disease. He's just mean.
That was good, Doc. If I stop going to dialysis on my own, what will happen?
You would die.
How old does a donor have to be?
A donor has to be an adult, so they have to be at least 18. There is no upper limit. The oldest donor I've ever done was actually in their 80s. Wow. But you have to be at least 18. You have to be an adult.
Okay. Why is it illegal to pay someone to be a donor? The first question they asked me was, am I being paid to be a donor?
Yes, it is illegal. There's a law against it in this country. If you are paying someone or giving them something to be a donor for you, it is illegal. You and the donor could go to jail.
Okay. I read no sodas, but then my kidney dietitian says 7-Up, Sprite, A&W root beer. I'm confused.
Well, it's like the same question about wine. Red wine has a lot of phosphates, white wine doesn't. Dark sodas like Coca-Cola has a lot of phosphate, whereas Sprite, 7-Up does not. So that's the difference.
Okay. How do a person develop kidney stones?
Well, there's a lot of different ways that people get kidney stones. The primary way is you just don't drink enough water. And particularly in the warm months, your kidneys, the urine inside the kidneys are becoming so concentrated, and the salts and the calcium is building up, and you get a stone. The main thing that people that are at risk for stones need to do is simply drink more water. Sometimes you have to change your diet, eating less red meat and cheese, and calcium. But the main thing is drinking more water.
Perfect. Can you tell me ways to avoid kidney failure?
Well, the main way is to avoid high blood pressure and diabetes. So it's to monitor. It's like what you're doing with the hairstylists and the barbers. People need to know their blood pressure. You need to be checking it every day and maybe a couple of times a day.
Absolutely. Can I lift weights with a catheter on my chest?
You can, but usually what needs to happen while you have that catheter, which should be temporary, but if it's not going to be temporary and you're going to have that catheter for a while, what you need to show the doctors in the dialysis unit is that it's not getting infected. You're keeping it very clean. If you're going to work out with that catheter, you can work out, but then you have to take a very clean scrub afterwards because you don't want to get that catheter infected.
Now, the doctor told me to lose weight, but how if I can't work out and so tired on treatment days?
Well, the main way people lose weight, honestly, is diet. So although your exercise routine cannot be that good because you're on dialysis, you're tired, you're fatigued, but you can change your diet. If you decrease your caloric intake, you will lose weight without increasing your physical activity. So the main thing that person should be doing is changing their diet, decreasing the caloric intake less than 1,800 calories a day. They will lose weight, and then they'll get more energy after they lose weight.
Very good. Okay, now, since I'm on dialysis, isn't it true that I can eat anything because the machine is going to suck it out? We got 2 minutes.
That's absolutely untrue. I go to dialysis centers, and sometimes people are eating forbidden things right there on the machine. Wow. And that is wrong. And those are the types of patients that we never clear to have transplants, because one of the things you have to be is compliant. You have to change your diet. You shouldn't be eating Doritos and fried chicken and slurping sodas if you have kidney disease. You're just hastening the death of your body.
That's really good, doctor. And it's true, because when I go into treatment, I see my buddies in there with some Cheetos. I see one lady was eating some chicken that was smelling so good. I said, my God, I wanted to just reach out and this is terrible. Right. But it's true. Now, let me ask you this. We only got a minute left for a break. Now, to me, I think it's one of the questions on here too, but I see this every week. There's a woman that's in treatment that is a chain smoker right before she get on the machine. It's like she got to hit 3 or 4 cigarettes before she get on the machine. Right. Isn't that kind of like the worst thing you could do?
It is. It's horrible because, again, because vascular disease is accelerated when you're in kidney failure, and one of the things that hastens the formulation of these atherosclerotic plaques is smoking, and then the nicotine causes your vessels to contract. What she's doing is she's increasing her chance of having a heart attack or a stroke on the machine. Wow. And then, the bigger issue is, she's addicted to nicotine. So some of that nicotine is being filtered off, which is why she wants to build it up, because it's because of her addiction.
Perfect. All right, everybody, it's commercial time in the house. When we come back, we only have 30 minutes left with Dr. Melancon. So you need to hurry up and call and get those questions in. This is 95.9 FM, 1450 WOL AM. Power will be right back after these messages. Yeah, because first of all, she this big. And she before she got on the machine, she has to smoke like 3, 4 cigarettes. And I'm saying to myself, well, is that kind of messing you up? Like,
it's not good. But what's happening is it's filtering off. So she's building up her nicotine level so that she doesn't. Just that 4 hours is going to cause her probably to go into a little bit of a withdrawal. So somebody like that, she probably smokes 2 packs a day. So somebody that smokes that much cigarettes, her nicotine levels are going to drop while she's on dialysis, just because it's 4 hours, but also because her blood's being filtered. So now she's in withdrawal by the time she gets off of the dialysis.
Here in Miami, but his trial will be in New York.
And then some of the patients were laughing online when I said about all the stuff they were eating because they know it's the truth.
The move follows a deadly shooting at a Pittsburgh synagogue.
How much time do I have?
11 people dead. Mayor Bowser issued a statement saying,
speaking of keeping that title up,
we stand for and fight for every day. Maryland and Virginia senators have also denounced.
All right, everybody, y'all doing really good. Y'all hanging in there with me. 2 whole hours. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
The district was deliberately set on fire. Officials responded to the area of Minnesota and Nanny Burroughs Avenues in Northeast around 6:30 last night for reports of a woman that was burned. Her injuries are described as serious. Montgomery County Police is asking for public input on.
All right, everybody, so make sure, don't forget to go on SeaIslandMorningShowDC.com and put your order in for your Sea Island products, or come by the Bennett Career Institute. It goes on sale on this Thursday. Now, what we're going to eventually do is we're going to, as we start the new foundation, we're going to have some of those proceeds go to that, but we want to be able to help maybe some kidney patients throughout the holidays. So much that we can do together as long as we join in together. Okay? All right, let's go back live. All right, everyone, we thank you so much. I tell you, I'm just so excited. I tell you that we are honored and privileged to have the team here, as well as Dr. Melancon, and we're just getting these questions together. And I think we're doing good. I think we're going to make it. Doctor. We only have 18 questions left in 30 minutes. I think we're going to make it.
You're doing good with the short answer.
Yes, we're going to make it. All right, number 20. I heard crack and cocaine will really damage the kidneys. Why?
Well, the answer is yes. It damages everything in your body, and I would not suggest to do either. Crack and cocaine causes vasoconstriction, and your body, when it vasoconstricts, one of the vessels that constricts the most is the artery going to the kidneys. So a person that takes a lot of crack and cocaine will be decreasing the blood flow to their kidney as well as their heart and brain, and over time, that's not good for the kidneys.
Okay. Is there something wrong with getting a kidney from a third world country?
There is nothing wrong with it. However, we have a relationship, we in the United States have a relationship with certain countries that can send us kidneys, like Puerto Rico, although it's part of the United States. It's a territory. Canada can also send kidneys here for certain situations. I suppose that what they're talking about is going to a third world to receive a transplant. And yes, that can be done. My experience is it's a mixed bag. Sometimes people are doing what's called transplant tourism, meaning they're going to a third world country and paying for a transplant. And just like anything with money, you can have a very bad experience. I've had patients, honestly, that have gone and gotten transplants that way. Some of them have done well. Many of them have not done well because the surgeons are not skilled in the same way as American surgeons. So it's a mixed bag. It's usually not a good idea.
Okay. Why after transplant surgery is it not recommended to be around people?
Usually it's only for the first couple of months. And the reason why we don't want you to be in crowds is because of infection. Viral infections are you're going to be more susceptible to viral and bacterial infections right after transplant because of the strong medicine that you received in the hospital. After about 2 months, if you're doing fine, then you could be around people.
Is it okay to come home after transplant surgery and be around your dogs?
The answer is we do worry about pets. Now, dogs are not one of them, but we worry about cats, the litter box. So you can be around your cats, but the litter box should be empty by someone else. If you have birds, like parrots, those are more dangerous for transplant patients. But again, it's the dropping. So if someone else is cleaning behind your birds or you wear a mask and gloves, then you can do it. But there are pets we worry about: reptiles, birds, cats. We don't worry about dogs.
Okay, and that was my question.
You have dogs?
I have 3 Cocker Spaniels.
Oh, you good?
And I threw that question in there. And thank you. And if my mother is still listening, thank you, because that was her biggest question for Dr. Melancon. Because my mother's saying, well, after transplant, you come into my house. And I said, no, I'm going home. And she said, you're not going home because you have 3 dogs. And I said, let me throw that in for Dr. Melancon. So we got that answer. All right, very good. Now, you see, I didn't coach him, Joyce. I didn't coach him. What studies have you read about vaping on dialysis and after a transplant?
I can't say I've read many studies about it, but I can tell you that vaping, it's kind of like the marijuana question. It's not really in and of itself going to be a problem. However, we want our patients to avoid smoking, and this is true with cigarettes, vaping, marijuana, just because if you are at higher risk of vascular disease, those are the types of people we want to avoid smoking. So it depends on the patient. You're a 30-year-old otherwise healthy person. I don't care if you vape, smoke marijuana, smoke cigarettes. If you are a 60-year-old person with bad cardiac disease, we would probably make you stop. So it depends on the patient.
Okay, very good. How old can you be to donate a kidney? I think you answered that.
Yeah, so I worry about physiologic age rather than chronologic age. So, you could be 80 years old. If you're in good shape, you could donate your kidney.
80 years old, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. My partner is HIV after transplant. Can we still be together?
Absolutely. The most important thing with people with HIV is it can be turned into a chronic disease. If the person that's HIV positive is taking their medications like they should, they're really not infective because the virus is not in their blood. So, yes, you can definitely be with someone that's HIV positive. They should be taking their medicines. We do transplants in people that are HIV positive.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, and they do very well because the medicines now are so good. If you just take your medicines, there's no reason why a person that has HIV can't live a normal life, including a normal sexual life.
So you do, because I didn't put that in there, but that was a couple of those questions, but I didn't put it in there. I just put my part as okay, yeah, that one. So you have done transplants on people that's HIV positive?
Absolutely.
Wow.
We have a very high rate of HIV transmission here in the district, and there is a subset of people that get kidney disease because of HIV. These tend to be African-American patients, and one of the reasons is because of the salt sensitivity of hypertension, and when you combine that with the virus, it leads to kidney disease.
Wow.
So in order to get that demographic transplanted, you need to do HIV transplants. We did this huge study back about 6-7 years ago and proved that those patients do well. So as long as you take your medicines with HIV, you can get transplanted and you can be partners with someone that has it.
Very good question, doctor. So another one on our Facebook live chat. Why does being on dialysis change your physical appearance? My grandmother was small and her skin got darker.
Yeah, this is very common. Again, it has to do with the fact that these breakdown products of things like protein, these toxins, start to build up in your body. It's why your skin becomes dry and flaky. It's why your skin darkens, particularly for African Americans. One of the first things that families will recognize after I do a transplant is that their loved one's skin starts to lighten to their normal complexion. And that's because those toxins that are not cleared out by dialysis are starting to be cleared out by the kidney transplant. Remember, dialysis keeps you alive, but it only does about 15% of what a kidney does. So there's a lot of things that the kidney does that the dialysis machine will not do. So once you get transplanted, then you go back to having a more normal appearance.
The next question, do donors have the same restrictions after do the donor have the same restrictions as recipients after a transplant?
No, they do not, because a donor, even after they give up half of their kidney function by giving one of their kidneys away, continues to be normal with normal kidney function. That's how they get cleared to be donors. So they do not have any of the restrictions of kidney disease because they don't have kidney disease, and they shouldn't have kidney disease for the rest of their lives.
So that means, piggyback on that question, so how long will the donor be able to go out in public and all of that?
Oh, they can go out in public immediately because, again, they don't have any of the restrictions. It's just like a normal operation for them. It'd be like, taking out their gallbladder or appendix. They can go back into the normal world within 2 weeks.
Within 2 weeks. Yeah. So they'll be down for 2 weeks.
Yeah, usually it's about 2 weeks. That's just because they don't feel, they went through a major operation. Mm-hmm. So it takes about 2 weeks to get back in the swing of things. After about 2 weeks, they can go back into the world. And after about 4 weeks, if they have a desk job, they can get back to work. And if they do something more strenuous where they have to lift more than 10 or 15 pounds, it takes about 6 weeks.
Okay, very good, doctor. All right, now, the next question. Why after transplant, is it okay? Okay, all right. Why do my aunt itch so much?
Again, it's because of the breakdown products of the toxins in food. So particularly protein. These products are not totally cleared by dialysis. So when you're in kidney failure, these toxins causes you to itch, and it's like your products, right? You get dry, flaky, itchy skin. That's because your kidneys are not working.
Gotcha. Okay, next question. Why do my dad's feet swell?
Again, if he's on dialysis, then what's happening is he's still fluid overloaded. So if he's not on dialysis, it's because his kidneys are not working well. Usually what needs to happen is the doctors can give medications to increase the urine output once they are in chronic kidney failure. And if they're at end-stage failure, then more fluid needs to be removed when they go to dialysis.
Okay. Some dialysis patients smell like pee. What causes that?
Well, again, the proteinaceous material that comes from eating red meat and eating different types of proteins, if it's not broken down completely by the body and then eliminated by the kidneys, it's going to come out of the skin. And it smells exactly how it would smell if it came into the urine. So this person, if they smell that way, then it means that they need better clearance. And better clearance means they need to change their diet and maybe even undergo more dialysis. Not every patient can be cleared with just 3 to 4 hours a day, 3 days a week. Sometimes patients need more dialysis than that.
You know what I thought was ironic? So I'm getting ready to start a podcast entitled Kidney Chronicles. And I'm doing that because whenever I do a live video or whenever I do video from the dialysis chair, I get thousands of people and they ask all these questions. Mm-hmm. That's why we're doing the 50 questions, because you're tackling all of them. Mm-hmm. What I did this weekend after researching, a lot of natural doctors were saying using baking soda. Mm-hmm. And so what I did was Sunday, I put a teaspoon of baking soda under my tongue and let it dissolve. Mm-hmm. And then, doctor, I made a little concoction with water, baking soda, a little ginger, and lemon. And would you believe, and I'm honest, and I shared it with my mother this morning, would you believe that normally I'd still urinate, I still go to the bathroom, but it's not a lot, but I do go. And after doing this last night, I went to the bathroom 3 times normal.
Yeah, no, that's.
I mean, just that quick. And I'm talking about normal urination in the bathroom that I haven't seen in quite some time. It happened 3 times last night just off of that baking soda.
Right.
Why is that?
Well, it's because the breakdown products of protein are acidic. So your body becomes more acidic when your kidneys are not functioning that well. So one of the things we commonly prescribe for our patients is sodium bicarbonate, which is going to be in baking soda. So yes, taking baking soda is going to help to alkalinize your blood, which is good because you're acidotic when you're in kidney failure. The only thing to be careful of, because taking a lot of baking soda will also drive up your blood pressure. So as long as your blood pressure is fine, then sure, it's a good concoction that you took, and that is a natural remedy, and it actually does work.
Well, it actually did. And you know what? If I had an award, Patrice Miles, the doctor would get it today because I knew that answer, and he gave the answer the exact way. This is wonderful. Because, of course, he had the research. I'm not going to just do anything, doctor.
Right, good.
Okay, so is dialysis and transplant the only options?
Well, once you get to stage 4 and 5, that's pretty much your only option. But remember, there are 5 stages of kidney disease. So one of the things I'm hoping people, out there on the airwaves understand is you should be getting screened. What Patrice Miles is an expert in is screening people. And, one of the things we're most proud of at the Ron Joy Polk Kidney Center is that we're finding people that are in those first 3 stages. And when you're in the first 3 stages, no, you have a lot of options. If blood pressure is driving your kidney disease, get it under control. Guess what? You can get rid of your kidney disease. If it is diabetes, get your diabetes under control. Guess what? You can get rid of your kidney disease. Now, once you're starting dialysis, unfortunately, you are probably going to have to remain on dialysis or get transplanted. However, you can still improve your health by doing all these other things, which is losing weight, getting your blood pressure under control. That's going to make you healthier as you go to the next stage in your life. People that get transplanted are pretty much normal once they get transplanted.
That's awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're going to do. We're doing amazing. So we're going to see how we're going to get through these last 8 questions after our final break. So we got 2 things to cover. We got 8 questions, and then we want Patrice Miles to talk to us about screening, because this is a good opportunity for some of you to come in to the center and get some screening done. So this is 95.9 FM and 1450 WOL AM, where information is power. We'll be back after these messages. So that's really good, Doc. You did an amazing job.
Good morning, it's WOL.
You're right. Information is power. I like the way you say that.
It's true.
You did an amazing job. So this is going to be good. So we're going to have the 50 most asked questions.
From Bennett
You'll have answered all.
And you're going to have it on the podcast.
Yes, all that. Yeah. So we're going to send you the information so you can see everything too.
You look like you fall asleep.
Yeah, I'm working on it now. So that's what I decided to do. Once I thought Mr. Wells was going to be the donor, I wanted to lose more weight. You know what I'm saying? I think my BMI was 33 the last time, and I want to try to get it down some more.
That's good.
So that's what I'm doing now. So that's why I started. I was doing little stuff. So I've been doing, like yesterday, I included now blueberries in my diet.
Antioxidants.
Yeah. So I did that. So I just been doing
raspberries are good too.
Raspberry, okay. So I've been limiting my protein to like sea bass, tuna fish, stuff like that, instead of my oxtails.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, we're live here, and we're going to get through this, and we're so glad that we still have. And listen, we're doing something when we have Dr. Melancon here, because normally I'm down to 1 person viewing on us because y'all listen, because I know y'all say y'all go back and listen to it later, but I'm glad that we're here. All right, our last 8 questions for the doctor. All right, now, how many times can you get transplanted?
There is really no limit on the number of times you are transplanted. the most I've ever done, I did 6 transplants on a person.
Wow.
You know, I mean, I didn't do all of them, but I did the last 2 of 6 transplants. So you can be transplanted many times as long as you qualify. Typically, a patient will not receive more than 3 transplants in their lives, but obviously you can receive more than 1 transplant.
Gotcha. Can my granddad at 78 still get transplanted?
The short answer is yes. I've transplanted people in their 80s, so yes, he can if he's healthy enough.
My sister is on dialysis and she smokes cigarettes a pack a day. Is that good?
It's not good. It's not good for anybody to smoke a pack a day of cigarettes. It increases the risk of lung cancer, and more importantly, because people worry about lung cancer, it causes vascular disease, and that's one of the things that keeps people from getting transplanted.
Yes.
It's not good.
Besides suds in the toilet, sometimes it takes me forever to pee, but the urge is there.
Yeah, so as your kidneys failing and you have the vascular disease is increasing, you have what's called some autonomic dysfunction. Your bladder doesn't even function as it normally did because of this autonomic dysfunction, and the muscle is starting to atrophy. Your bladder is shrinking. So you can still get the urge, but basically you're not making much urine.
Okay. Why my penis stopped working? And I know this is too general, but I had to tell you. I had to ask. That's what's on here.
So typically when people are starting to become impotent as far as dialysis, it's because they have a combination of what I was just talking about, this autonomic dysfunction. Mm-hmm. And it's usually because they're also diabetic. But just having kidney disease can also hasten things like erectile dysfunction. So what I would say is what you should be making sure is that your blood pressure is under normal control rather than dropping too low. Because another side effect of a low blood pressure, even when you're on the machine, is that you can have erectile dysfunction. So it's important to get your blood pressure in the normal range, and if it's diabetes related, then you need to get your diabetes under control.
Why some fruits aren't good for me on dialysis?
Well, because of the phosphorus level in the fruits. And again, that's why I say it's a trial and error thing. Your dietitian in any dialysis center can give you some of the more phosphorus-friendly fruits versus the ones that are not so phosphorus-friendly.
Can I really live a great life with 1 kidney?
Yes. People that donate their kidneys tend to do better than the general public. They tend to live normal lives. Donors do really, really well after the donor operation. So you should be totally normal after you donate a kidney.
If I become a donor, can I still give birth to a child?
Yes, I answered that one earlier, and the answer is absolutely yes. Should not be a problem.
Okay, and very good. And our final question, yes, and that is, can I get pregnant on dialysis?
The answer is yes, although it's much, much more difficult. Once you get to stage 4 or 5 kidney disease, then you tend to become infertile. So people that have kidney disease, late-stage kidney disease, tend not to be able to become pregnant. It can happen, but it is rare. After transplant, however, patients can give birth. Just this weekend, I helped deliver a baby on one of my patients who I transplanted about 2 years ago, and she had a baby this weekend. So one of the things that happens after you get a transplant is that you go back to being fertile, and that's true for men and women.
Very good. Well, Dr. Melancon, you did it. You answered, well, it was technically more than 50 questions. I had 50, and we answered all the questions from our Facebook listeners. So you did an amazing job. Ms. Patrice Miles, talk to us about screening. You have a lot of people that's listening to you and a lot of people that's going to see this video, and they will say, well, hey, how can I come in? I asked my questions, and now I want to be screened. What would I do?
Well, you would call 1-833-KIDNEY3, and I would set you up with an appointment. We only do the kidney screenings 3 days per month right now, so we don't do them every week. I know some people want the flexible schedule with when they have the day off from work. However, when you come in, we will give you the red carpet treatment. We will ask you to provide a urine sample, and we will check to see if you have protein in your urine. We will also do a blood pressure check. We do that with everyone who comes in, and we will give you your results before you leave, all within 30 minutes or less.
Very good. So, Ms. Miles, why do you think that so many people are not really knowledgeable when it comes to kidney disease, but the numbers are so high in the area?
Well, I think as Dr. Melancon was talking, I was thinking about how we in 2019 are going to make this issue come to the forefront, like breast cancer, HIV, and all these other issues. And we just have to do more things like we're doing right now, being on a radio show, being on Facebook Live, making sure that we are addressing the questions of the community. We put out a lot of information, but we also want to make sure that we are certainly addressing the questions that the community has. And I'm already thinking about what we're going to put together, Dr. Melancon, when I get back to the office. Good. Because we want to make sure we're moving forward with even some of the questions that are being asked today. Mm-hmm.
So then let me ask you this. So what else do the GW Ron and Joy Paul Kidney Center does besides the screenings?
Well, we're out in the community. We do about 70 events per year. We're out at the community doing health fairs at churches, community centers, rec centers, senior centers, libraries. We are out in the community providing just information. We're doing blood pressure checks. Sometimes we even do the BMI. Dr. Melancon mentioned that earlier, how important it is to know your BMI. And we are doing those types of screenings in the community, reaching nearly 70,000 people per year.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say that I am just honored today to have Dr. Melancon live here in studio along with Patrice Miles. And I have created so many amazing projects and things that not only are we going to be doing together, but then I'm going to start the C. Allen Kidney Foundation so we can do more. But until then, for the listeners who want to donate, talk to us, either Dr. Melancon or Patrice. How can they donate? Because starting in January, once I have the foundation, we're going to be seeking donations so we can be able to be a blessing more to the kidney community. I talked to Ms. Miles about one of the things that I do at Washington Cancer Institute is I have sponsors where we do Pamper Days. And we usually do it around the holidays where we give hand-sewn wigs to the cancer survivors, as well as a day of pampering. And usually our sponsor is the great people at Toyokalon out of Japan in New York City. So they have been our sponsor. And what they also did was we renovated the images room where the women come in to get fitted for wigs and all of that. The great people at Toyokalon, along with Bennett Institute, we completely re-grand opening so everyone can see how beautiful the image room is. But I want to know, how can our people donate if they wanted to say, you know what, Brother C. Allen, I believe in what's going on. I don't want to wait until your foundation start. I want to donate now. What can they do?
We would love to have your donations sent to the GW Ron and Joy Paul Kidney Center. There is so much work to be done in order for us to reach the greater DMV, and we want to be able to provide the materials that we need. We want to provide cooking demonstrations and just all the items that we would need to make this community healthier as far as kidney disease is concerned. And we welcome them. Again, gwkidney.org is our website. gwkidney.org is the website. Or you can give me a call at 1-833-KIDNEY3 and ask for Patrice Miles.
So you said gwkidney.org. So listen, everyone, there's two ways for some of you, and I admonish some of you to donate. Two things that I want you to do, and I'm going to have Dr. Milan do the closing. Two things we want you to do. One, we have 2 minutes left, so two things we want you to do. One, we want everyone to call 1-833-KIDNEY3 and schedule yourself a screening so you can go in and make sure that you know your numbers and you know where you stand in reference to kidney disease. For those who want to give, go to gwkidney.org. Look at the website. I'm sure there's a donate button up there. And let's be a blessing so we can continue to get good education. It costs to get good education out there. It's not free. We appreciate the services today that was allotted to us, but how often can we get the leading transplant surgeon in the city to come and answer all these questions like that for FREE? That can't happen, and we want to be able to be a blessing to him as well. So Dr. Melancon, you're closing. What kind of advice or what kind of information would you give all of the listeners out there? We have 1 minute left, sir.
Sure. I would just say, you know, I remember even when I was a kid listening to Jesse Jackson, and he would always tell these young people, you know, I am somebody.
I am somebody.
Right? I am somebody. Right. And I think that idea of self-esteem is so important. And for patients, I think what you need to tell yourself is, you know, my body is a temple. And if your body is really a temple, then you're going to take good care of your body. You're not going to put junk food into your body. You're going to take better care of your body. And those are the ways that people are going to make a difference and avoid things like kidney disease. So I would just say, you know, tell yourself, I am somebody. My body is a temple, and therefore, ...
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was it. I am so appreciative today here at Dr. Melancon live in studio. Make sure, everyone, this Thursday, we want you to go to Bennett Career Institute and pick up your new C. Allen products, or go online to CAllenMorningShowDC.com. And remember, pamper yourself is your duty. Why? Because you are worth it. God bless you. Have a good week. Perfect. Absolutely. That was great.
I think you went well.